Okay, going live real soon. Waiting to see if a few. Oh, we got a couple people already. All right. So welcome back to WMAC Now with your host, Chuck Steele. And welcome to the weekend recap for the weekend of, what is it, October 22nd through the 24th. Usually, excuse me, I usually do this show on Sunday, but had to move it back to tonight. And honestly, I feel even, unfortunately, I feel even worse today. Just coming back from vacation. Was at work for like maybe less than an hour and started feeling like crap. So should have stayed on vacation, I guess. Anyway, we got some really. I'm sorry, everyone. I hate coughing on screen like that. So we got a lot of fights to talk about, and honestly, the best fights happened outside the UFC. The only finish of the weekend that I thought was noteworthy happened outside the UFC. So let's get into it. So this was supposed to happen on Saturday. Fearless Woman MMA 8. All women's promotion. Unfortunately, I was unable to watch it. I ordered the stream. Paid for it. It was only $5. But unfortunately, due to, I guess, technical difficulties on the end of the event, on the event's end, the promoter's end, the streaming service couldn't stream it. So they ended up refunding everyone $5. Now, I believe the event might be up on Fearless, the Facebook page. I haven't checked yet. They might have taken it down and just only had it up there live. I'm not sure. But I do got to give a shout out to teamhustlesports.com, the website that, was supposed to be streaming this. They refunded everyone, I think, in less than 24 hours. So bravo to a team that stayed on top of things. Hopefully the production booth over at Fearless gets it worked out for next time. Because, for these smaller promotions, if they're going to stream live, it's costly. It's costly to have a good, the cameras and a production booth there, and to stream it. It's costly, and you gotta sell the pay-per-views to make up for it. And for me, to support young all women's MMA promotion, $5 for me, that was a steal. I mean, I was only familiar with maybe 1, 2, 3 of the names on here. But, I mean, if you want to support MMA, you got to support MMA. Especially the ladies who are a niche within the niche. So, unfortunately, I don't know any of the results for this one, but I'm sure they will get posted eventually. Then, early Saturday morning, I was surprised at how easily I got up for this one because I did sleep first. At deep 104 impact, Seika Izawa defeated Chiu via decision. This was actually, it wasn't the most exciting of fights, but there was some excitement in it. Park accidentally soccer kicked Izawa. Izawa's eye was swollen shut. Park did drop Izawa on the feet for a split second. And Izawa's eye was messed up. It's still pretty swollen. But she was able to persevere to keep moving forward in the fight. And I really liked the improvement in takedown defense and ability to get back to her feet shown by Park. I did a full review on this fight with a standalone video. Please go check that out sometime later tonight or tomorrow or whenever. Over at KSW 64, little bit of an upset here, as Sylvia Yuskovic defeated Karolina Ovčarz via decision. Ovčarz came in. She was the taller, bigger opponent, just all around, bigger, taller, upcoming prospect, as it were, had shown a pretty good game so far. Yuskovic had much more experience, but the record wasn't always so pretty. So, you know, a lot of people were favoring Ovchar's. I picked Ovchar's as well. But Yuskovic said, you know, showed that, you know, experience, even if your record isn't always so fancy, you know, sometimes you got to watch out when matching a prospect up against, you know, a fighter with a journeyman record, because these fighters come in and they don't give a crap. They don't give a crap that they're facing a prospect. They're coming in here to get paid, and if they can, you know, make the prospect look bad, then even better for them, because then they often get asked back and can get some more money out of it. We got a super chat from Just Wave for $2. Appreciate all your content. Well, I appreciate that support, Just Wave. Thank you very much. Super chats are hardly required for watching, but I do appreciate them. Also, if you look in the description, you can find my what are those apps called? My, I believe, Cash App and my Venmo. So if you want to make direct donations, you can do that as well. But again, not necessary, but heartfelt appreciations. Thank you very much, Just Wave. Then we moved on to Bellator 269 in Russia. So this one went about as expected. Irina Alekseeva defeated Courtney Page via decision. Not the most eventful fight, but Alekseeva was able to get Page up against the fence and get the takedowns that she needed to. Unfortunately, she missed weight by 2 or 3 pounds. Well, I'm not sure, but it might have even been as little as like 1.5. Might have been less than 2. But she did miss weight. So she's got to work on that. She said she might even move up in weight. Unfortunately for her, Bellator doesn't have bantamweights. So she's going to have to move up 20 pounds if she's going to be more active in Bellator. Then also at flyweight, Katarzyna Sadura came in and provided the perfect banana peel to Darina Mazdyuk, defeating her via TKO in the second round. Again, you bring in someone that you're trying to build, putting them against someone with a journeyman type record, and Sadura was only 4-4 coming in this fight. It's a big risk. It's a big risk in boxing. It's a big risk, probably an even bigger risk in MMA. Definitely a bigger risk in MMA. But Mazdyuk didn't have really any head movement going on in this fight, and also just didn't have the ability to keep up with Sadura. So I'll tell you what, Sadura's kicks. She led with her kicks and threw the punches behind them. Great game plan here from Katarzyna Sadura. So nice that plan by her. Mazdyuk has got to go back to the drawing board. Honestly, she is better off going back to the regionals for a while. Bellator, should let her take a couple fights outside of the promotion to, you know, build her record up a little more, build up her confidence. Now, she is one of the subjects I'm going to be talking about after the recap. And it's what she did to get to Bellator that I think really stands out. It shows thinking outside the box. It was a big risk that paid off. Big question is, was it all worth it? We'll talk about that. Then we moved on to UFC Fight Night. Was it Costa versus Vettori? First off, how about that main event? I know it wasn't the men's. That was an amazing main event. Costa had more energy at the end of the fight than he did at the beginning. And Vettori, that guy has a beard on him. I mean, an absolute beard on him. That dude took some hard shots and did not stop. Slowed down considerably in the 5th round, probably because he kept eating kicks to the body. But man, that was a darn good fight. Had it not been changed and everything due to the weight issues, probably would have gotten fight of the night. Just Wave says, great performance by Sadura. Indeed it was. So anyway, first up in UFC, strawweight bout, Randa Marcos defeated Livia Renata Souza via decision. Best performance from Randa Marcos in a long time. I mean a long time. She did so well in this fight, barring getting caught twice in a headlock throw. She's been a pro for I forget how many years. She has been in the UFC for almost 7 years now. Almost 7 years. December will be 7 years that she's been in the UFC. And she's still getting caught in the most basic WMMA takedown. You got to work on that, Randa. You got to keep working on it. But you know what? She put on a hell of a performance. Saved her spot on the roster. Because she was suffering. She was on a 4-fight losing streak. First real losing streak I think she's ever been on. Question is going to be, what do they do with Livia Renata Souza? Mike Bisping said that she'd probably be a good candidate for an atomweight division if it ever started. It's a good idea. I'm just not sure what's been going on with her. She looked so promising in Invicta and seemed to be very active there. She fought once in 2015, twice in 2016, twice in 2017, once in 2018. Oh, then she went to the UFC, but once in 2018, twice in 2019, once in 2020, and then twice in 2021. So not nearly as active since coming to the UFC as she was earlier. And just like I said, not living up to the promise that she had showed in Invicta. Then at strawweight, Tabitha Ricci defeated Maria Oliveira via decision. I actually missed this fight because I had to go a couple towns over to look at purchasing a new vehicle. So I did miss this one. But from what I understood, it was a fairly ho-hum fight. I will say this, though, and I think I might have mentioned it in either a tweet or a community post here on YouTube, that this was the first win over a fighter with a winning record for Tabitha Ricci. Before this fight, and this is her 6th or 7th pro fight, before this she hadn't faced an opponent with a winning record. So she finally got a win over opponent with a record that is right side up. So good for her, I guess. But it's against a debutante. The book is still open on Ricci. She has a somewhat exciting style, though. So we'll have to keep an eye on her. And when she's not fighting, Oliveira can be pretty exciting, too. Go back and watch her fights in Rise, and she had an exciting style there. Then up on the main card at bantamweight, absolute snoozer here. Jessica Rose Clark defeated Jocelyn Edwards via decision. Clark fought absolutely safe. Probably not a smart fight necessarily, but it was a safe fight to steal a line from Zane Simon over at Bloody Elbow here. Because Edwards took a round on one of the judges' cards in a round where she had barely done anything at all. But because Jessica played it so safe that any real act, and just basically lay and prayed, that any action that it only took, a few strikes from Edwards to take a round in one of the judges' eyes. Let me see if I can find the stats here real quick. So here's the stats. 72 total strikes to 54 for Clark. 30 significant strikes to 18 for Jessica Rose Clark. But here's the thing. Jessica Rose Clark got 5 takedowns. And the majority of the fight was spent with Jocelyn Edwards on her back. So I wish I had the stats by round. Oh, you can't show stats per round. Okay, so now I got to look up. Let me see here. MMA decisions. A great site, MMA Decisions, shows so many decisions from so many events. So Jocelyn Edwards stole the first round, according to Eric Colon. She landed 24 total strikes. 9 significant. But it doesn't say control time or anything. But all I can remember from the first round is that she spent the majority of it like on her back. So, yeah, Jessica Rose Clark played a very safe fight and almost cost her. It cost her a round in one judge's eye. So you got to be careful when you're trying to play it that safe all the time. Now, I see some people are saying, oh, Jessica Rose Clark stunk up the place. She stunk up the place. Well, what was Jocelyn Edwards doing besides being stuck on her back? You know, people always say, oh, the wrestlers always stink up the place. Well, you know who also stinks up the place? Strikers who can't get up off their back. Strikers who can't defend takedowns. Should have reversed that. Strikers who can't defend takedowns and then strikers who can't get off their back. They stink up the place too by being one freaking dimensional. So I swear it's always striking heavy, fans that say stuff like that. And it's meanwhile they just don't have an appreciation for the ground game or an appreciation for well-rounded fighters. And I've seen that. You see this all the time with fights where there's heavy lay and pray. But you know what? It is not on the fighter who is winning the round to be exciting. Necessarily. At least not always. Like, it is not up to one fighter to be exciting. It takes 2 to tango. Okay? I remember saying this about, excuse me, when Valentina Shevchenko defeated Liz Carmouche. Both fighters fought boring in that fight. Well, mostly people were only complaining about Carmouche. Saying, well, she's a challenger. It's on her to take it to the champion. Yeah, but the champion wasn't doing anything. That to me was just an excuse for Valentina to do the absolute bare minimum. So yeah, it takes 2 to tango. And guess what? It takes 2 fighters to make a fight boring. And then finally, on Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, I listened to this fight, the commentary while I was at work. At like 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock. But Ryzen 31 Super Atomweight Division, Saori Oshima defeated Kana Asakura via split decision. I did record and edit a review for this one. I'll publish it as soon as the stream is over. I could not get it published on my on Wi-Fi when I was out earlier today. Just what it was taking it was going to take an hour, whereas at home it only takes me like 5 minutes. So I will publish that as soon as the stream is done. But I'll tell you what, awesome effort by the microweight and atomweight Oshima in defeating the super atomweight perennial contender in Kana Asakura. Oshima never really stopped attacking. For the entirety of the 2 rounds, she was constantly on the attack. Even in round 2, she spent most of it on bottom, and she was constantly attacking. Now, if this were under unified rules, probably would have been a win for Kana Asakura because Oshima spent most of the second round on her back. But this one, pretty freaking awesome win here for Saori Oshima. Split decision, so one judge gave it to Asakura. But the one that came closest to finishing was Oshima. The most significant strikes of the fight, and by significant, I mean like strikes that actually meant something, I'd say it was split. Oshima landed a really good right hand a couple times in the stand-up, and she landed some really nice up kicks from the bottom in both the second and third round. But Asakura, when she was on top and able to land some ground and pound, she smacks hard. She punches. She's got some power in her ground and pound, does Kana Asakura. But big win here for Saori Oshima. You know, in 13 months, she has won the Jules microweight title, competed in and won the Deep Jules atomweight tournament, avenging a previous loss in doing so, captured the Deep Jules atomweight title in the finals of that tournament, and then now she makes her Rizin debut and beats, basically the second best fighter in that division. Amazing work for her. Oh, and she does it all while raising twins. Granted, she's married, so, it's not like she's doing it by herself. But twins is a lot of freaking work. Has to be. I can't imagine it's easy. It's got to be work just to tell the two apart. But yeah, awesome win for Oshima. Huge upset. And that's why I even put her in the thumbnail cover for this video, because this to me was the biggest happening of the weekend as far as the fights goes. Because just the size factor advantage and the experience factor for Asakura. I don't think I saw a single person that picked Kana Asakura to win. Some people are trying to say that, they're not that surprised, but then why didn't you pick Oshima? So I did say, though, last Thursday, do not count her out. Do not count her out. And then I'm going to post a video from Rizin in a community post, showing, why I said that. Because there was an interview with her. And before the interview, they showed a clip of her doing grappling. And a lot of what she was doing in that flow grappling session, she was doing in the fight with Oshima, like on her back, attacking, looking for sweeps, just constantly on the offensive, even in a disadvantageous position. So I'll try to remember to post that up. I have a terrible memory, though. But the sky's the limit, it seems like, for Saori Oshima, who has 9 total fights in 2 years. She made her pro debut in, I know it was last year, 2020. I think it was like early last year. One PFL contender Rizin. Let me see here. Oshima. Come on, internet. So she now has a record of 7-2 and made her pro debut on January 26th, 2020. So in less than 2 years, she has fought 9 times, twice in one day to win the Deep Jules title in the atomweight tournament. lost twice, avenged one of them. And the first loss she took to Mina Karobi, she shouldn't have even been in that fight. Shouldn't have been fighting a fighter who was 14-5 for her second fight. But it seems like the sky is the limit for Oshima. The big question is going to be, what do they do with her now? You know, do they match her up again in Ryzen? Does she go back to deep jewels? She has 2 titles to defend. And she's hasn't defended either of them yet. Like, she won the deep title, I think, last year. Yeah, she won the deep title in September of last year. Hasn't defended it yet. So she could go back to microweight. She could go back to regular atom weight in deep jewels. They could do a lot of things with her. I don't think it's they're not going to put her up against Ayaka Hamasaki, because she trains out of AACC, the team that Hamasaki is, and she is a very close training partner of Ayaka Hamasaki. Ayaka Hamasaki, I might have mentioned this on Thursday or Friday night, I think it was, that Hamasaki was giving Oshima high praise going into this fight, and was saying that she is a type of fighter that her striking is very limited, but she will come forward and eat the punches she has to get in close. And honestly, she didn't even really have to absorb too many punches on the feet. She was able to get in fast, and I'm just really impressed. Like, because I had picked Chiu Park to win the Deep Jewels Atomweight tournament, and then it ended up being Oshima who beat her in the semifinals, and then went on and won in the finals as well. So, Saori Oshima, quite possibly breakout fighter of 2020. Quite possibly. Raw Hobbies and Lifestyle says, big news from Asia. Itsuki pulled out a fight due to high fever yesterday, and now it's Jenilyn Olsen replacing Itsuki to join the fight versus Ritu. Yes, so I released 2 little, the YouTube Shorts videos, are like a minute each. I'll talk about that too in a second here. But the Brother Man, what's up, the Brother Man? Says, sup, Chuck, congrats to Oshima. Asakura has lost her motivation to fight in the last couple of months. It's a possibility. I mean, after the loss to Ayaka Hamasaki, the second loss, she very well might have. I mean, you lose in 2 championship fights to the same fighter. You know you're not going to get anywhere near that title for a darn good while. So basically, she has to spend time treading water. And she was close to finishing Hamasaki too. She had her mounted. She was landing punches. I think she got to the split decision in that one. Let me check. Yeah, went to a split decision. So, almost beat Hamasaki. But, you know, like I said, you lose a second chance at a title to the same fighter. You know you're not getting anywhere near it as long as they hold that title. I mean, it's going to take a long, long time. I mean, that's why Iona Jacek is sitting now. Because she doesn't want to have to do that work. Anyway, the Brother Man also said, Oshima twin daughters look cute. They are very cute. And they're always posing for the camera too. Like, she tells them cheese, and they immediately put up the peace signs. Like, one of them usually always goes with the 1, and the other's always with 2. So they're so cute. And I don't even like kids that much. But yeah, they're very cute. Raw Hobbies and Lifestyle says, in this COVID era, it is quite hard to make a tournament if the tournament is not finished within 2 days, especially in Asia, where a lot of countries still have strict travel restriction. Yeah, well, the thing was, apparently it's not even COVID related. It's just that she came down with a fever. It's non-COVID related. So, I mean, when you're training that hard all the time, And this tournament has a fast turnaround, like very fast turnaround. You know, you're training, you're going to be exhausted all the time. Your excuse me, your immune system is going to go to crap. Then when you're cutting weight, and I know for a fact that she cuts weight to make weight because she was doing an Instagram live video during fight week from Singapore in the hotel on the treadmill in a sauna suit. So we know she cuts weight. Between the constant training, the fast turnaround, the exhaustion that creates, plus cutting weight, your immune system is going to go down the toilet. The problem with this tournament isn't necessarily COVID. The problem has been that the fighters, some of them sat out for so freaking long, and now you got this super fast turnaround time. Like, I mean, what was it, 2 months, if that? Let me see. I went right past some. That's why I went the wrong way. So, let's see, when was the last event? The last event was on September 3rd. So you're expecting these fighters to come back and fight again in less than 2 months. If you're not going to have it within a 2-day period or a single day period, that is a fast turnaround. Now you can, because here's the thing, you can fight more than once in a day. You can fight on 2 different days. We've seen that in Ryzen, and we've seen single night tournaments going all the way back to the beginning of the sport and still happening in the modern era with Combate Global and Invicta. You can have tournaments like that, but if you're going to spread out the fights, you've got to spread them out and give fighters proper time to recover. Because it's totally different between training for like a single night tournament or like a 2-day tournament like Ryzen has done before. Like when they did their super atomweight tournament, it happened like on a excuse me, I think on the 29th was the semifinals, or no, the second. Crap. So let me see. Kana Asakura. Okay, she fought twice in one day. So the ladies fought twice in one day, but the men fought across 2 days that year. That was in 2017. Hobbies and Lifestyle says, I am the same gym with one of the female fighters and won. I know the mentally tired of these women fighters because I'm same gym with one of the women and won. She'd been preparing for May 29th and then October 29th, but fight got canceled due to COVID restriction. That just sucks. Meanwhile, it's costing her money too. That just sucks. I'm sad to hear that. So anyway, so yeah, that's what I want to talk about with Saori Oshima. So I want to talk about Carla Esparza for a little bit because she's in a quandary. She's stuck between a rock and a hard place because she's willing to sit out for a title fight. Dana White basically told her, if we offer you a fight, you better take it. Now, in those exact words, he said, if you get offered a fight, it's highly recommended you take it. I think that was closer to what he actually said. I can't remember now. But here's the thing. Now, they haven't updated the rankings on UFC.com yet, but the new rankings are out. And Joanne Jędrzejczyk, who's number 2, is now out of the rankings. Which moves, well, you know what? I can find them. Find them real easily. Let's see. TSN, SPORTS. Because I know TSN Sports has them updated. Let me see here real quick. Of course, they make you search for them because it's MMA. FIFA World Cup, Olympics, Europe's game, one more. UFC. So tsnsports.com. Oh, come on. I know they had them on here. Oh, wait. I missed it. More. UFC rankings. So, women's strawweight. So, I'll move these over here real quick. Women's strawweight. So, Joanne is gone from the rankings until she fights again, which moves Carla Esparza to 2. Basically, it moves everybody up 1 spot, except Amanda Lemos moves up 2 spots, leapfrogging Varner Jandiroba. That's some BS right there. Even Angela Hill and Felice Herrig. Felice Herrig still in the rankings. I'm a huge Felice Herrig fan. She should not be in the rankings. And Jessica Penny, with 3 straight wins this year, I believe it was 3 straight, at least 2, moves into the rankings for the first time since, man, I don't even remember when. So good for Jess. Anyway, Esparza is now at number 2. If she doesn't get a title shot next, who is she supposed to face? Is she supposed to face Rodriguez, who she just beat? Is she supposed to face Yan Xiaonan, who she fought even more recently than Rodriguez? Is she supposed to risk the number 2 slot to number 5 Mackenzie Dern coming off a loss? She's supposed to fight. Well, Nina Nunes already has a fight booked. Is she supposed to rematch Claudia Gadelha? I mean, I know Esparza wanted that fight for a while, but I think at this point that she's moved past it. She's supposed to give Torres a fight. Torres doesn't even have her mind on fighting right now. She's doing a fitness competition. Watterson coming off a loss to Rodriguez. Hebos, she's got a fight booked against Jandiroba. Lemos got a fight booked against Nina Nunes, and absolutely no reason number 11th ranked fighter should be getting a shot at number 2 unless it is an absolute last minute fight, and then the number 2 ranked fighter is dumb for taking that on at last minute. So yeah, who is Carla Esparza supposed to fight, or who is the UFC supposed to offer her to fight? I mean, they could offer her the second fight with Joanna, but why is Joanna going to take that fight? She already beat Esparza. She's not going to want that fight. There's no way Joanna's going to want that fight. To what? Get a win over someone she already beat years ago? And Joanna only has her eyes on 2 people, Zahn and Rose. So I don't know what. That's just Dana playing hardball the way Dana White likes to play hardball. So I think she might still be in a hard place, though, because if, let's say, Zahn wins the rematch, but it's close, they could very well end up being a trilogy fight between her and Rose. Especially if the fight is close and very exciting. You know the UFC is going to hop on that quick money grab trilogy fight. I mean, they hopped back on for the immediate rematch that was totally undeserved because of the money grab. So Esparza, they have no one really for her to fight that they could justify facing her. But she also risks sitting out for a good long while, possibly until midway through next year, late next year. It just depends. So, I mean, yeah, poor. Where am I at? Poor Esparza. She is literally stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. So, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on, Esparza's quandary? Raw Hobbies and Lifestyle says in Asia, a lot of countries do not allow someone who has fever to enter the country, even she has tested negative for COVID several times. I think that is what Itsuki's facing. Probably. I mean, I know Singapore has been super strict. That's why One Championship is going back to, doing one live show and then pre-recording the next two on the same day. They were supposed to be starting to treat, the you-know-what, starting to treat it more like the cold because of their level of vaccination. But then again, they're also still dealing with foreigners. We're talking about here, people coming in from outside the little tiny city-state of Singapore. So it probably is what she's dealing with. Either she wasn't allowed to travel, or the doctor just said you can't fight, just to risk because of a chance of infection. I mean, even if she has like a cold or the flu, get around a bunch of people in confined spaces, which is basically a hotel, and she risks spreading it. So, I mean, I don't blame one for pulling her. I know a lot of people are upset. We'll talk about that in a second. So now I want to talk about this red-haired girl, young lady, Darina Mazdyuk. So she fought on Bellator, made her Bellator debut, losing via TKO to Katarzyna Sadura in the second round. But she went viral even before she got into Bellator because of a fight that she took. A fight that she took in order to get her into the big show. So this was posted Friday, an article by MMAfighting.com, written by Alexander K. Lee. It says Bellator's Darina Mazdyuk set up intergender freak show fight to draw attention of big promotions, and it worked. It says Darina Mazdyuk knew exactly what she was doing when she stepped into the cage with an opponent who outweighed her by almost 400 pounds. This Saturday, Mazdyuk, who was 3-1 time, now she's 3-2, competes at Bellator's 269 in her first fight since defeating a 529-pound man in an intergender exhibition fight in Moscow last November. Footage of the freak show encounter quickly went viral, and its notoriety eventually led to Mazdyuk being signed to Bellator in December. Mazdyuk now fights Katarzyna Sadura 4-4 in a flyweight bout in her Bellator debut, and ahead of that encounter, she spoke about how her intergender bout was all part of a plan to get signed to a major promotion. It was actually me who initiated it initially, Mazdyuk said via a Russian translator at Bellator 269 Media Day on Tuesday. I got the idea of fighting someone huge and then used that as a promotional value for not just Russia, but also for the US and for other countries. And it turns out that this way I was able to draw attention to myself, and this way I scored a Bellator contract. So Mazdyuk noted that the women's mixed martial arts scene has developed more slowly than it has for their male counterparts, which is one reason why she thought outside of the box to garner more exposure. If anything, she figured she would create a situation that the vast majority of sports fans had never seen before. That was kind of the goal, to reach a lot of people and to actually show to the crowd that such fights can exist, Mazdyuk said. They can take place and how exciting they can be. I believe that such sports are particularly exciting and particularly something to look at aside from your normal, classical, traditional point of view fighting, so that was a goal for me. Despite the clip's popularity, not everyone was enthusiastic about the bizarre matchup, with some questioning its legitimacy. Me, I was one of them, wasn't sure. And others just flat out expressing disgust over the fight. Veteran referee Mark Goddard described the clip as shameful. Mazdyuk shrugged off the criticism for the most part. The bigger you get, the more things people say about you, Mazdyuk said. This is quite reasonable, and it's the only way to get to the top pretty much. I'm ready. I basically filter out all the negativity there is and just focus on what's right. Now that Mazdyuk is signed to a major North American promotion, it's doubtful she'll be facing off with any men in the near future. In fact, the Russian fighter doubts that there is much of a market for another encounter now that she and her opponent have left their own unique mark on combat sports. That's the kind of fight that, the kind that I set up was in fact so popular that nothing is going to overshadow that fight. Whoever tries to do that next, Mazdyuk said, I don't believe that there is much of a future to that kind of style. So, I like that this young lady really thought outside the box to bring attention to herself. I don't necessarily agree with the fight that she took. It was a big risk. But the fact that she was willing to put herself out there, to go out there and do something different to get attention, it showed ingenuity, creative thinking, cojones, as it were, to step into a cage with a 529-pound man. So, girl has more cojones than I do. That's for sure. I'm not getting in a fight with a 529-pound guy. Look, Darina Mazdyuk took big risks, and it paid off. She did it to get a fight in one of the big shows, and that's exactly what she did. However, as we saw on Saturday in her loss to Katarzyna Sidura, getting a fight in the big show is one thing. Actually showing that you're worthy of being in the big show is something completely different. She's got a lot of work to do to really be even on the level of most of Bellator's flyweights. And I mean, most of Bellator's flyweights are a step below most of the UFC's flyweights. And she was brought in to face a fighter with a dead even record, a 500 record. She was basically, they were basically trying to set her up, and it didn't work out for her. The big question is was it worth it? Was this big risk, and was all of this worth it? I think time is going to tell. I mean, I have no idea what Bellator is paying her. I mean, I'm sure she got more for this than she did to fight the fat guy. So that's always a good thing, fighters getting paid. That's the whole point. This is prize fighting. You're fighting for a prize. So the big question is going to be, will it be worth it in the long run if she doesn't last in Bellator? That's the big question. It's hard to say. I mean, like I said, she got her call up to the show. Like, one of the major leagues of the sport. There's more than one. I mean, UFC would be like the big show. It would be like Major League Baseball. Bellator is somewhere in between AAA minor league baseball and Major League. Like in baseball in the U.S., you have the major leagues, all the big teams. Then in the minor leagues, you have various leagues, various levels there. And AAA is the highest in the minors. Those are fighters that are either A, big prospects that are about to get brought up or looking to get brought up soon, or for fighters who just need to go back down, recover. Not fighters, baseball players. Players that need to work on some things. Bellator is in between those two levels. So, I mean, she definitely got the call up to one of the big shows, and that worked. I just think that time will tell on whether or not it's going to end up paying off. So let's talk about. Let me bring up the picture real quick here. Since we've already been talking about it. So one championship. Harada is out due to illness. And Jenny Lynn Olsen, who was set to face off against, who was she set to face off against? Gian Radzuan. Also this Friday, on a later that day, she was supposed to come on, it's on the tip of my tongue. Okay, Olsen was supposed to fight Gian Radzuan on Friday, but the fight was going to be recorded and broadcast as part of One Next Gen 2 in probably 2 weeks, or whenever One Next Gen 2 is supposed to go down. But due to Itsuki's illness, she had to pull out. Olsen gets promoted to the Grand Prix. She's on a nice win streak, and completely throws chaos, even more chaos, onto the already hexed one atomweight Grand Prix. Why do I keep closing Topology? I'm just going to keep opening it. Oh, wrong way. So Jenny Lynn Olsen, she's 5-2, but I believe she's on a 2-fight win streak. One of those wins was up a division. She was fighting at 125 pounds against Myra Mazar. Yep, says this was at flyweight, 125 pounds. Then she came down and beat B. Nguyen via decision. Close decision, but beat B. And now she is facing Ritu Phogat, who actually lost to B. Nguyen. Very interesting matchup. Now, I've got to watch some. I had started to watch the tape, and I was going to make a preview for this card for the Grand Prix semifinals. I never got to do it on Friday or Saturday. You know what? Thank God I didn't, because it would have been an absolute waste of time with this news coming out today. So now I got to watch some more video tomorrow and try to come up with a new preview for this one. That'll probably end up being Thursday's stream. Will be the preview for the Grand Prix semifinals. Stamp versus Julie Mesa Barba, also an alternate for the tournament, who got promoted after Sahi Ham, who had defeated Denise Samboanga, had to withdraw to a fractured finger. And if you see her recent Instagram posts, which she doesn't post that often, but Ham does indeed have a bandage or like a cot thing around one of the fingers on her right hand. So now we got Stamp versus Julie. And to me, this fight decides the Grand Prix winner, honestly. I think whoever wins this one is going to be the one to win it. Ritu has to face a new opponent. You know, it sucks because you game plan for a certain opponent, and then that opponent drops out. Now you got to throw that game plan out the window. But Ritu basically fights the same way every fight, so I don't imagine that her style is going to change, her game plan change too much. Awesome. Probably had to throw her game plan out as well. So both fighters are coming in with a fresh slate. Ritu, slightly more experienced now, mainly because she was getting that big. Well, let's see, 6-1 and 7. Okay, they have the same amount of fights. It's just that Ritu has one more win than Olsen, who has one more loss than Ritu. Oh, also, Stamp and Julie were not supposed to be the main event, but due to the one light heavyweight kickboxing champion having to withdraw from his championship, his title defense, that fight now also or this fight got moved up to the main event, and Ritu versus Olsen got moved up to the co-main event. Yeah, this Grand Prix is it has a hex on it. It's cursed. However you want to say it. It is indeed. It took so long to get things going for this, and then as soon as they finally got things going, it starts falling apart. But you know what? Honestly, mixed martial arts tournaments fall apart all the time. Look at one's lightweight Grand Prix. Christian Lee won the final. Christian Lee didn't even fight a single fight in the Grand Prix. Ended up coming in out of nowhere and getting put into the final because of, well, who was it? Was it Eddie Alvarez that withdrew? I can't even remember. But, yeah. In that tournament, they didn't even have reserve bouts. Whereas one championship knew coming into this one, they had to have some reserve bouts. What else? Another really messed up tournament. And we're going back over a decade. Pride Bushido, their welterweight tournament, which was like 185 pounds. Pride had like their own weight classes set up. And welterweight was 185 pounds. I guess like it's supposed to be in one championship now. But like it wasn't, Pride wasn't doing it out of like the whole hydration business or whatever. That's just what they called it. That's how they set up their division to differentiate themselves, I guess, from the UFC. I don't know. But they didn't have a light heavyweight division. They only had heavyweight, middleweight 205, welterweight 185, and then lightweight at 160. So, oh man, I missed the days of Pride. But the welterweight tournament, the second one they did, one of the fighter who ended up winning was Kazuo Misaki, and he had lost in the tournament. We got to go way back for this one. So yeah, Kazuo Misaki lost at Pride Bushido 13 to Paulo Filho in the first round via submission. If I remember right, let me see here. Filho was hurt or came down sick and couldn't continue. They didn't have an alternate bout set up for the tournament. So what happened? They brought in Kazuo Misaki back, and he ended up winning against Dennis Kang via split decision. Dennis Kang was injured at the time, too. So you have a fighter who lost, came back that same day, won in the finals, and was declared the Grand Prix champion. Well, here's another example, and we're going back around the same time, probably a few years earlier, I believe. K1 Heavyweight World Grand Prix Finals event. Multiple fights in one night for that one as well. Bob Sapp knocked out Ernesto Hoost. Big upset at the time because Bob Sapp was not a good kickboxer. He just hit hard. And Ernesto Hoost was wrecking Bob Sapp up until that time. Sapp knocked him out. Hoost was out of the tournament. But Sapp, because Hoost had kicked him so many times in the rib, Sapp could barely breathe. He was unable to continue with the tournament. I can't remember if his ribs were cracked, if they were just bruised, if they were broken. I can't remember. But Hoost got brought back in, and he won. And then he started doing this weird little dance. Like, dude, you got knocked out early in the same night. Maybe dance a little bit less and just be happy. So yes, tournaments have chaos all the time. It's just a part of the game. But thankfully, one was smart enough to realize after their previous mistakes with the lightweight tournament that, hey, we need alternate bots. So that allowed Mesa Barber to come in when Hom fractured a finger. And then it allows Olsen to come in and face off against Ritu because of Itsuki dropping out because of her fever. And thank God that One Championship was having two events, was recording two more events on the same day, because otherwise they might not have been able to bring Olsen in. Might not have been. I mean, less than a week notice, and you've got to get someone a visa to travel into Singapore, which has been so strict about restrictions, they might have had to hold off on Ritu fighting anyone for a while. Just how it is. So, I bag on One all the time, and I recently had that video, did really well, about them letting Angela get away with basically murder. And, I'm not afraid to bag on One. I'm not afraid to call them out. I'm not afraid to call out any promotion when they're screwing around. But One Championship showed good foresight in having the alternates for this Grand Prix. So I believe that's all I really want to talk about. Well, I have one more thing, and I'll get around to it. Gordon Morris, welcome to the chat. Gordon says, a bit off subject, but would you say that the top-ranked women atomweight fighters of One are also below the level of the UFC strawweights? I don't think so. The One atomweight fights are amazing. Well, the fights are amazing. Some of them are matched up really well. Some of them, though, are also given complete gimme fights. Okay? I'm getting some heat for this now. And I'm not surprised by it, but okay, let's look at some of the fighters' records just that were in this Grand Prix before now. If you saw my recent community posts, you saw I was getting some flack for talking about Itsuki. I knew I would, so good. I wanted to start conversation. But look at Itsuki's record. Look at who she's faced so far as a pro. First fight, 1-1. Second fight, pro fight, Rika Ishige. That's okay. I'll admit they gave her an experienced fighter, but they gave her a much smaller fighter who was on, I believe, a 3-fight losing streak at the time. 2-fight losing streaks, but had lost, or no. She was doing the random Marcos win-loss thing at the time. But basically but she was even losing to fighters with less experience, less fights than her. Lost to a fighter making her pro debut. Rika Ishige. I love her spirit, but she is on the downward spiral right now. Okay? So we go all the way back up for Itsuki. Next fought Irene Crowley. Irene Crowley came into that fight, and granted it was short notice, so I'll give some credit there. She was coming off of 2 straight losses. Miku Nakamura coming in there with a 500 record. And nobody was picking her to win. So then she finally faced a fighter with a good winning record, Elise Anderson, in the atomweight Grand Prix quarterfinals. Elise had a nice record, 5-1 at the time. But she hadn't fought in 2 straight, or almost 2 years. Yeah. So 8/9, 2019. Yeah, over 2 years since she last fought. And it's not like she fought Elise Anderson out of like a random draw. It was matched up that way. She's been carefully cultivated. Who else? Let's look at Ritu Fogat's record here real quick. Okay. 0-0. That's normal to make her debut. Second fight, Chao Chen Wu, 2-1. Then she took a step back. Nusari Pro was only 1-1. Step up a little bit to face Jomari Torres, who's 4-4. Well, how many fights had she won recently? She was on a 4-fight losing streak going into that fight. Okay. Steps up, faces a fighter with real experience, but smaller in B Nguyen, coming in there with a losing record. So they gave her a much more experienced fighter, but coming in there with a losing record in B. She was not supposed to lose to B, but she did. Some people are calling it a robbery. I disagree. B had a very strong third round. Like I said, whole fight scoring favors a third round. It's always going to favor the latter stages of the fight. Now, the Heijin Lin one is one of those wins that looks really good on paper because she was coming in at 14, 2-1. But when you put it in context, and context is important, Laura Senko always puts the fighters' records in context when she's on the Dana White Contender Series now. And people even ask her, like, why is she bringing up the level of these fighters' competition? She said, context matters when you're discussing a record. You know, a 10-0 record against fighters who, you know, only had like one win between them doesn't mean nearly as much as someone, you know, fighting with like 4 fights, but we're facing, you know, undefeated fighters or fighters with better records. So context matters. Look at okay, one. Look at how long Lin Heijin had been off. From 3 of 2019 to 7 of 2021. So 2-year layoff. 2-year layoff. Also, look at most of the fighters that Lin Heijin had beaten. 4-2 in Jomari Torres, but look at previous that. 0-3, 0-1, 0-2, 0-1, 0-3, 1-0, 0-2, 0-0, 2-2, and it just goes on like that. Can crush her. Also, she's a striker, like a very heavy striking favored fighter. So that was a win that was designed to look really good on paper for Meng Bo. Also, to get her back into the Grand Prix. Let's talk about Stamp. So Stamp, she actually has one of the better records out of here in context. Okay, she made her pro debut at One Warrior Series, beat a fighter who was 1-1. Came in and to one championship, the Big Show, fought someone who was 4-0 in Ashiroka, but again, how long before Ashiroka's last fight? 2/25 of 2017 to August of 2019. Again, another 2-year layoff. Two-year layoff. So then she takes on B Nguyen. B is going to be smaller than anyone she faces in one championship other than Rika Ishige. 5'2" to 4'11". I mean, Stamp just beat up B. But I'll tell you what, B Nguyen is tough. Then she fought Pooja Tomar, who was 4-3. Again, it's like only had one more win than she had lost. Sunisa Sreesan was her second undefeated fighter, but Sreesan was like much smaller, if I remember correctly. Sorry about this. Sreesan. Okay, she was a little bit smaller. She was only 1 inch shorter, but she looked small, a lot smaller. So finally, she takes a big step up against an opponent with much more experience in Aliona Rasuhina, who was 12-4 at the time, and actually had wins over. Well, Rasuhina's a bit of a can crusher herself. Yeah, for the most part, Rasuhina was a can crusher herself. Lost to Kanpa and Sahi Ham back in the day. No shame in those losses back when they happened. Yeah. Rasuhina beat her, and then Stamp avenged that loss. So, like I said, a lot of the fighters in one, they're homegrown fighters in particular, their records are carefully cultivated. And that's why I was talking about, I don't totally understand the hype behind Itsuki Hirata coming into the Grand Prix or coming into the semifinals this weekend. I said based on her accomplishments and her record and who she's faced. I said I simply don't understand it, and I don't understand the high praise and the hype behind her. And that's why when I made that community post, I said ignoring her Instagram posts, because there are a lot of thirsty fans out there. And I mean thirsty. She's got a lot of Instagram followers, a lot of comments on them, and they're all horn dogs. Horn dogs aplenty on Itsuki's Instagram. So I said, that's why I said, ignoring her social media presence, why does she get that hype? So I don't know. So to answer your question, Gordon, yes, the fights are usually amazing. They usually are. But I'm not a big fan of watching mismatches. I'm not a fan of watching fights where you can basically tell what the outcome is going to be, or basically go, oh, like when I watch a fight, if I know who the promotion wants to win based on looking at the two fighters, and I already know that or if the promotion is pushing one fighter much more than the other, and then I look at that fighter's record, it's like it loses a lot of the luster and excitement for me. Raw Hobbies and Lifestyles said Gian Rajuan still in Singapore for this card. Well, that's good, because you know what? Fingers crossed. Knock on some wood. She might have to step in. She might have to step in again. Like I said, fingers crossed, knock on wood. Nothing else happens, because this Grand Prix is already falling apart. But hopefully, no. Yeah. It's good that she's still there. Gordon says Angela Lee predicted Stamp to win the Grand Prix and be her opponent when she returns to defend her title. Stamp versus Angela will be epic. Yes, it will be epic. Probably until Angela takes her down and then just puts all of her bulk on top of Stamp. Hopefully Stamp, if she wins, makes the Angela work for those takedowns, though. Raw Hobbies and Lifestyle says It's kind of hard to make tournament as long as they don't remove the travel restriction. It is indeed. You know, they shouldn't have made the Grand Prix to begin with. It's a fun idea. Tournaments are fun. But when you're stuck in a location that has super strict travel restrictions, how do you expect to get a tournament going successfully? And then they held off on starting it for so long over Elise Henderson. And I mean, hey, I'm very happy for Elise. I've watched her for several years now. I'm glad she got signed to a good promotion. I'm glad she's making money. I think, I can't confirm, but I think they gave her a hefty signing bonus because she basically quit her job, moved to Florida to train full time. You don't do that if you're just hoping for money to come from a fight. You basically have to have the money to do that. And moving from Michigan to Florida is not going to be cheap. For those of you that are outside the U.S., that's a very long distance. It's basically moving from the north end of the country to the farthest south end. Gordon Morris says Zamboanga versus Ham is set for December 5th. So I haven't actually seen that confirmed yet. I know it is targeted, but I don't think One Championship has actually confirmed it. Oh, so Tapology has it on there, and I trust them. Has one added it to the website? They usually don't put the cards up on the website until very close to the event, though. So they don't even have the fight card up yet. So we'll see. But if Tapology has it up there, it's a good bet that it's on. I'm picking Ham to win again. Zamboanga is going to have to go out there and shoot blast doubles from the very beginning, though. B. Nguyen is explosive and short limbs and hard to hold on, says Raw Hobbies and Lifestyles. Yeah, she's explosive. She's hard to submit because of those short limbs. And she's tough. Like, no one can ever say that she doesn't have heart. B. Nguyen is one of those fighters that has a lot of heart. And she comes to fight. Like, she is not trying to be in a boring fight. She is trying to put on a fight. She is coming to fight. She's not coming in to lay and pray. She's not coming into wall and stall. She's not coming into point fight. B. Nguyen shows up to fight. I remember someone in my comments, in the video comments, saying one time, you know, I don't understand why B has so many fights with her record. I don't see what's so hard to understand. When you come to fight every time and your goal is to put on exciting fights, and you basically said, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about my record anymore because there's no point, that's going to endear you to a lot of fans, okay? Fans want to see exciting fights, and B comes to put on exciting fights, okay? It's not hard to figure out why she has a lot of fans. It's really not. Well, Hobbies and Lifestyles says my money on Ritu to win the tournament. You know, she has the X factor in her wrestling. Out of all the fighters left, you got 3 strikers and 1 wrestler. She's a good wrestler. Very good chance she does win the tournament. How about May Yamaguchi, Angela Lee, and Seong Jin-nan, says Good Morris. Not good enough for UFC strawweights. May Yamaguchi, no. I mean, she might win against some of the bottom tier. Here's the problem. May's too small. She's too old. And she is slowing down. She's never truly been considered a top tier fighter, except in one. So, I mean, one really hyped her up when she was brought in. She was the Valkyrie champ for Valkyrie short existence. I think they only lasted a couple years. But she's never been considered a top fighter. She was never considered a top atom weight at 105. She's only considered a top atom weight in one at 115. And that's because she came in and was the first fighter that Angela Lee couldn't finish. And knocked her down, too. And then arguably won the rematch. Angela Lee could break the top 10. I think she'd break the top 15. I think, no, I think she could break the top 15. And top 10, no. Jing Nan, she wouldn't be able to fight at 125 in the UFC. She'd be too small. So she'd have to move down to 115. Or yeah, she couldn't fight at 125 in the UFC. She'd have to fight at 115. Her takedown defense would hurt her. But then again, that's a mostly striker-happy division. Maybe top 15 as well. But I think she'd have a hard time breaking top 10. I'll watch them fight any day. I'll watch both of those. I'll watch all three of those ladies fight any day of the week. Because they put on exciting fights. Gordon Moore says, Hirata's excited to watch. She's only 21 though. Yeah, she's exciting to watch. I get it. She's a very dynamic fighter. But it's just that from what I've seen from, like, she hasn't shown a dearth of abilities. Like, she hasn't shown a well-rounded skill set. She's only been challenged one time so far. And that was the only time she ever went to decision. So it's just, I have a hard time buying into the hype. And I'll get to that in just a second. Let me get through these comments real quick. If you can't predict whoever win when you want to gamble, then the match is a good matchup. Yes. Yes. If the odds are so skewed, then it's not a very good matchup. Now, granted, this is MMA, and upsets happen all the time. Rasohina was considered an underdog against Stamp in the first fight and the second fight. Stamp was considered a big underdog against Ritu Fogat. There are people favoring Denise Ambalanga to beat Sahi Ham. Mostly because they've never seen Ham fight. But, yeah. I don't like mismatches. I mean, I understand when you're building up a prospect, but when you are hyping those fighters way beyond their actual level of achievement, which one loves to do, it's hard to get down with that. Again, where Stamp Fairtalks body shot Angela and Angela get KO like Sion did before. Well, that's possible, but Stamp's got to tire her out. Sion, her endurance in that first fight with Angela was unbelievable. And basically, Angela could not keep up after trying so hard in the fourth round to get the finish. And she was done. She was done. She was broken after that fight. She was physically exhausted, and she was mentally broken between the fourth and fifth round in the first fight with Sion. You could see it on her face. Like, she just had this look on her face like, what have I got to do? Like the 1,000-yard stare and the open mouth. Like, what have I got to do to put this girl away? May versus Carla. Carla would take her down. You wouldn't like to see Angela versus Rose? I would, haha. Oh, I'd like to see Rose put away Angela easily. Yeah, I'd pay to see it. Ritu versus Mackenzie? No. Durham would kill Ritu. Gordon says Sion versus Lee 2 was awesome. So was their first bout. Yeah, both fights were amazing. A lot of people, including me, will still argue that Angela got away with an illegal suplex. But there was no way they were going to allow Angela to lose her title via DQ. They overturned a match that Christian Lee had won, but it was a non-title bout because of DQ for the same thing. There was no way they were going to DQ Angela and cause her to lose her title. No way. Raw Hobbies and Lifestyle says a lot of fans just predict who win just based on their emotion towards the fighter. But if it's time to put real money to gamble, you will see different support percentage when it involves cash. That's very true as well. I do not gamble. And the few times that I did put money down on a fight, it was fighters that I had no investment in. Like no emotional investment in. Like I would never bet on Saori Oshima fight. I've been a fan of hers since her very first fight in 2007. I'd never put money on a Michelle Watterson fight. I'm still a fan of hers too. Apparently, clearly. I wish she would do more, and I wish she would start fighting better, but I never put money on Tisha Torres fight or Carla Esparza fight. A lot of fighters I would never put money on because I'm too invested as a fan. Now, I try my best to put that fandom aside when I make fight picks. Every once in a while, it might creep through, but I think I've gotten pretty good at it. But yes, emotion towards the fighter. I feel that is, one of the biggest problems in the sport is fandom based on emotion. And I mean, don't. It's okay to get emotional about the sport. It is an emotion. Not driven sport. This is a sport that really revs up your emotions. It is very easy to get emotional about this fight, about the fights, about certain fighters. But at the same time, you can't just let them cloud your expectations of a fighter or allow them to prevent you from seeing the truth of a fighter. Okay? So I made these couple of community posts today. I think one was based on Itsuki, and then somehow another one ended up becoming a discussion about it. Or no. One of the videos, one of the shorts I published today had a big comment discussion. So I made this comment today, this social community post. Excuse me. And I said, ignoring her social media presence, what exactly has Itsuki Hirata done to warrant so much hype and praise? Yes, she has a dynamic style, which is nice, but she's very one-dimensional, darn near a one-trick pony. Her best win by far is her most recent, where she was heavily favored over a fighter coming off a 2-year layoff. I enjoy her fights, and I admit it, I enjoy her fights. I said, I just don't get the ridiculous amount of praise I see all the time. And people are already getting emotional. I got accused of being a hater. I got told that it was in bad taste to say this due to her illness. Okay, she has a fever. It's not COVID. She just has a fever. Okay, she's not dying. I'm not trashing a cancer patient. Okay, she just has a fever. But yeah, I knew this was going to irk people. And then a comment in one of the videos, it's like, today, someone accused me of trying to drive up clicks by catering to the Filipino fans. And I straight up said, I said, obviously, you have not watched any of my previous fights, videos or live streams before, if you think that I'm somehow catering to the Filipino fans who come in, try to troll me, and dislike my videos and streams. I should have told that guy. But we're not going to get into that. We're talking about Itsuki. Damn, now I lost my train of thought. Okay. I have never been someone to get on fighters' hype trains. Closest ever came to was Gloria DePaula when she won on Dana White Contender Series. I said she looks like a legit prospect, and I praised her pretty highly, especially for me. But I have never been about hype trains. I have always been anti-hype train on this channel. I've talked about it multiple times. So why is it that it only seems to upset people when I talk about their favorite bleach blonde Japanese fighter? No one was mad when I was saying that Manon Fiorot is getting way too much praise, because I've said that before. No one got mad when I was saying Amanda Hebus was getting too much praise and was getting pushed too fast. No one complained. Well, no one, at least on my channel, came to my channel and complained. But I make one post, community post, about Itsuki. Now, granted, I've talked about her before and saying that she hadn't beaten anyone legit before. And she hadn't before she beat Elise Anderson. But suddenly, I question her hype train, and the fanboys start coming out. And of course, the one guy got offended as soon as I said fanboy. But it's like, dude, you called me a hater when I asked a legit question and brought up good points. So I don't know. You tell me. Gordon Morris said, you sound pretty sure that there are nefarious powers at work influencing one's scoring. I don't think they're influencing the scoring, quite the opposite. The UFC often has controversial outcomes. Are you just being skeptical? Is one corrupt? Just asking. So sometimes decisions don't go the right way in one. And by the right way, I mean follow the company narrative. Because Hom, the company thought no one at one thought that Hom deserved the win. What was another recent fight? Knowing that the company thought that Ok Rae Yoon had beaten Christian Lee, and they were shocked at the outcome. So the scoring, no, the scoring at one, I think it's fine. I think it's all right. I think their problem is they just don't do enough to educate their fans on the scoring system. That's their biggest problem. And it seems like sometimes even they don't understand their own scoring system. Also, not having an independent third party come in to do their judging and refereeing. That makes one look shady. No, the shadiness at one often comes with big favoritism over fighters that they want to push and letting them get away with certain things that other fighters don't. Now, look, that happens in fight promotions all the time. But with one, it's very blatant. I mean, it is super blatant all the time. For example, the rumors coming back out again, and a new fighter this time, talking about Angela Lee never making weight and being way over. If you miss weight for a title fight, guess what? You should lose your title on the scale. But one championship let her keep her title, and it was considered a title defense against Estela Nunes. Allegedly, it happened both times in her fights with Mei Yamaguchi. Or for Angela, when she suplexed Sion, and it was deemed not a suplex because her shoulder hit. It's like, bro, her shoulder and her head hit at the same time. So, and also just the matchmaking. Some of the matchmaking is it's almost as bad as boxing. Do you think Munbo is overrated? Rasohina asks Gordon Morris. That's a good question. I like Munbo. And she's a decent fighter. She's got power in her hands, and that is her biggest thing. But who is her biggest win over? You got to go back a ways, because I mean, she's had what, 23 fights, and a lot of her fights are against fighters with much lesser records than her. Even as she kept going, a lot of debutantes and fighters with 1 or 2 fights, even as she was reaching past 10 fights. Okay. I mean, look, you're 13-5 and you're taking on someone who's 3-8. She finally starts facing decent competition with winning records consistently in one championship. 4 fighters in a row with winning records. Now, was the Ritu Fogat loss a shock? Yeah, I think so. Because Ritu was very unproven at the time, and she had coming off, that loss 2 fights before that to beat. Munbo's biggest thing about her, the only reason most people still talk about her, is that she lost to Wei Li Zhang, she beat Wei Li Zhang in the first fight for both of them back in 2013. So, do I think she's overrated? I think one overrates her. I think that if you really look at her record, you'd think, one championship overhypes her. What else? Oh, Rasohina. Rasohina is very underrated. She doesn't have a great record either, but they brought her in to give Stamp a win over a fighter with a nice looking record on paper in it, and it failed. And they still try to underrate her. I watched a preview for One in Power, and Michael Schiavello was saying that Stamp dominated every minute of that fight leading up to the submission. And it's like, okay, Stamp was ahead, but it wasn't an outright domination. Rasohina had threatened with submissions. Rasohina had taken away one of Stamp's biggest weapons in her leg kicks by mastering the distance and keeping her legs out of the way of the kicks. So I think that Rasohina is arguably underrated for not having, for having a record that is mostly built on, can crushing. Raw Hobbies and Lifestyle says, that's why I mentioned just now, too many fans are emotional towards certain fights. Oh yeah. I mean, and I don't really blame them. Like I said, how can you not get passionate about this sport? to steal a line from Brad Pitt in the movie Moneyball, which was about baseball. He said, how can you not be passionate about baseball? How can you not be passionate about MMA? It's impossible to. Impossible. This fight has the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. It's just such an amazing sport. How can you not be passionate about it? It's just, I have certain fighters that I'm a fan of too, yes. But I'm more of a fan of the sport itself, more than anything. I'm a fan of good fights. I want to see good fights. I want to see good fighters fighting good fighters. I want to see Excuse me, I apologize for that. I want to see compelling fights with compelling stories. And yeah, I get into the storylines too sometimes. I get into real storylines, good storylines, not fake beefs, not like one championship with their, oh, this fighter inspired me because I can't I'm a woman and being a doctor in Singapore is frowned down for a woman. That's not true at all. I've seen people say several times that is simply not true at all, that commercial is overblown, rather. So I like good fights. I like good storylines heading into good fights. And not just the trash on one. Dana White's Contender Series is sympathy point. It is nothing but sympathy point there. Every fighter on that show somehow has a tragic backstory to get you to want to cheer for them. And then they bring it up before the show, before the fights, they're talking about it. And then every winner, they bring that sad sob story. Oh, your tough background. What's it like having to fight through that? And how does it feel to get the win in the Contender Series? Like I said, it's sympathy porn. It is reality TV is what it is, which is anything but real. It's just, that's why I don't like the Contender Series. The Great Benefactor with a $1.99 super sticker. So, Great Benefactor, welcome to the stream, and thank you very much. Very gracious for that. Thank you very much. But the stickers are nice, but say something too. You can do the super chat and say something. Get your money's worth. I mean, $1.99 I think only gets you 50 characters, but at least say something. But thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Gordon Morris says, I sympathize with you. I still haven't forgiven the UFC or GDR for screwing Holly. Jermaine should have been deducted points for the late strikes after the bell twice. And Murphy versus Lee. So I agree with GDR versus Holly. Lee, that's one of those fights. She let it get too close. Same with Miranda Maverick versus what's her name? Macy Barber. I think I talked about this last week. It's like you can't let fights get that close. You just can't. I mean, I understand sometimes it just happens, but like Miranda Maverick, she went in there as a big favorite. And a lot of people thought, man, they are done with me. UFC is done with Macy Barber. And defeat her against a rising contender, Miranda Maverick. And then Miranda Maverick went out there and couldn't convince 3 judges. Or couldn't even convince 2 of them. She let it get too close. Anyway, regarding Murphy versus Lee. I thought it was very close. Could have gone either way. I thought they were going to give it to Lee. She's a pretty blonde. She attracts more fans than Lauren Murphy does. Lauren Murphy, despite a good sob story, the former junkie that turned into a top fighter, Invicta bantamweight champion, she just doesn't bring the fans in. Andrea Lee does, or did, was for a little bit, might still be, but I thought they were going to give the fight to Andrea Lee, and I was sitting in Buffalo Wild Wings watching that fight live, and I knew it was close. And I said, I bet they're going to give it to the blonde girl. I said to the guy sitting next to me who was watching the fight, it's total stranger. He's like, I think they're going to give it to the dark-haired one. He didn't say why, but he's like, I think they're going to give it to the dark-haired one, and they did. So I was a little shocked. But again, you can't let fights get close like that. Again, Great Benefactor, thank you for the super sticker. We had 2 super chats tonight. Just Wave with the other one, $2. Gordon Morris says, storyline I like. Andrea Lee training at high elevation to improve her cardio. Beats Antonina. Beats Cynthia Calvillo, moves up to number 5 rank. And Valentina selects her as the next victim. Lee wins. You're an Andrea KGB Lee fan, I see. That would be a good storyline, I'll tell you what. She's training, and she's in Northern California, I believe, at MMA Gold. Aspen Labs gym or team. I think that's where she's at now. So somewhat elevation, but not like Albuquerque or Denver, like Team Elevation or Jackson Wink. Not in that order, but yeah, she's at, I think, some elevation. Anyway, this stream went on twice as long as I thought it would. Actually, even longer than that. I'm beat. I've been up since a little bit before 6 a.m. I'm not feeling good, as you can tell from the cough. That I was doing great. I was feeling the cough was gone. I had vacation all week last week. Sat home, relaxed, decompressed. Go back to work, and within a half hour, I'm feeling like crap. Didn't help that my boss still had the air conditioner running. It's like, it's not hot in here. Why do you have the air conditioner set to 70? I had cold air blowing above onto my beautiful bald head. So I'm not feeling good. I did not expect the stream to go on that long. Best stream in several weeks. A lot of my regulars haven't been around, unfortunately. I hope they're all doing okay. I know like Judy V has popped in once or twice, and I know she had a move. Leon EU, hope he catches the replay. I know like he's in Europe and has to like go to work early, so he can't always make the streams unless I run them earlier. But I try to, accommodate West Coast people in the U.S. So, yeah, some of my regulars have not been around lately, but we had good chat today. I have gotten some new people, and the channel continues to grow. I appreciate each and every one of my subscribers, new, old. Thank you very much, and thank you for watching my videos. Izawa versus Park review is out now. Asakura versus Oshima, I will publish as soon as I end the stream. I will start uploading it. Last weekend we had, who was it? Sumiko Inaba versus Randy Field, which was a good fight. My review is up on that. I got to go back in there and edit the description to attach a fight link. Check out that review. Check out my video on, Angela Lee about missing weight. Got a bunch of good stuff coming up late as far as fight time goes. November's a little bit slower than October. We still got a lot of action this coming weekend. A lot of reflection on here. Tomorrow, we have Dana White's Contender Series. The next day, PFL Finals on Wednesday. Kayla Harrison probably picking up another championship win against Taylor Guardado. Clarissa Shields is back in action. If you're on Twitter at all, it's been some drama. One on Friday, and then Saturday we got UFC. Numbered event, big numbered event, but it's for free. Or it's on ESPN Plus in the U.S. So no pay-per-view in the U.S., which is nice because otherwise I wouldn't have ordered it. Just not a big fan of the card. I mean, it looks good. I just wasn't going to order it. Anyway, ARC 6 has a ladies, I believe, strawweight bout. SFT, a promotion down in Brazil, is having an all-women's event. Hexagon 2 in France, France's first native MMA promotion. I believe it's the first one. And then Venator has a ladies fight as well. I believe it's the headlining bout in Italy. So nothing Sunday that I see. So we got a lot going on this weekend. November slows down a little bit, but lots going on. Gordon Morris says, Andrea said she had trained at Elevation. Okay. I just think she needs more than 3 rounds. Valentina didn't beat Lauren till the 4th. Well, Valentina didn't finish Lauren until the 4th. She was beating her every round. Gordon says, love your show. Hope you feel better soon. Thank you, Gordon. I'm going to take some NyQuil, and I have this herbal tea that's supposed to knock you out really good. So I'm going to take that. Try to get up at a decent hour tomorrow. Anyway, don't forget to like the stream. That helps draw people to it. If you're watching on a replay, feel free to leave comments down below. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear thoughts on Esparza's Quandary and your thoughts on Darina Mazdyuk's Gambit. I think I liked what I saw. I liked that she, thought outside the box. Oh, you can't even see. I don't even have the pictures up like a dummy. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.